The entrepreneur that I will be doing for my project is Jake Burton Carpenter, who created Burton Boards. Carpenter went from a troublemaker to an industry shaker. He was an entrepreneur, pioneer of the sport of snowboarding, and a free spirit. Who is Jake Carpenter? Jake Carpenter was an entrepreneur who modified the snurfer. The snurfer at the time was a child's toy. It was a sled. It was something that you could almost surf with in the snow, but it wasn't taken seriously. But one day, Carpenter thought to himself that this could be a bigger idea. People could actually buy this product if it was made correctly. He was an extremely hard worker who went from a simple idea to a multi-million-dollar company. He also was credited with creating the sport of snowboarding and making it a reality across the country. Jake was born in Manhattan, New York, to two loving parents and three siblings. He had a happy childhood full of adventures and good times. He remembers going skiing and surfing for the first times, where most of his inspirations came from. When Jake was young, his brother died in the Vietnam War, which tore his mother apart. Later, when he was 17, his mother died from leukemia, but Jake said he could tell for years that she was dying from sorrow of his brother's death. He was a troublemaker after his mom died, and ended up getting kicked out of his boarding school, Brooks, where his dad and brother had went before him. After that, he could sense the disappointment in his dad, so he turned the life around that he had previously lived and began to work hard. He went to college at University of Colorado Boulder and later NYU. During his career, he met his wife, Donna. She was the love of his life, and they later had two boys, George and Taylor, who they spent many adventures with. After NYU, Jake worked at a small banking firm for years. In the back of his head, he always remembered the snurfer from when he was a kid, and that he wanted to modify it because he thought that it could be something real. Jake always thought one of the big ski companies would pick it up, but they never did, so he quit his firm and moved to Vermont to start making snowboards. He got $200,000 from his grandma's inheritance. It was supposed to go to his mother, but then she passed away and it went to the kids. He spent 150 of it in the first year making prototypes. He hired many of his family members and friends, but had to lay them off quickly because he was losing so much money. He only sold 300 of them in the first year and struggled to get out of bed sometimes because he lost the motivation to. Slowly, over time, he started selling more of the boards, doubling it each year. He started sponsoring some good snowboarders, and people started to really love the sport. His next big challenge was getting the big ski resorts to open up to snowboarders, because they thought it was a mockery of the sport at the time, and it was dangerous for other skiers. He slowly worked on it, and it ended up being in the Olympics, and he made so much money off of this product. Some pivotal points in his career were in 1961, which was the first time he ever skied. He got a lot of inspiration from this and ended up creating a snurfer modified into a snowboard. In 1968, he got expelled from Brooks, which made him turn his life around and start working very hard. In 1977, he quit his job in New York and moved out to Vermont fully to create this product. In 1983, Stratton Mountain allowed snowboarders. This was the first mountain that he got in the country to open to snowboarders. After that, he went from mountain to mountain, getting them to open. And as one would open, the next would open, and then finally a lot of the country would allow snowboarders to be on their mountains. And in 1998, snowboarding was in the Olympics for the first time. Carpenter said that he didn't like this. It was in Japan, and they didn't even tell him that it was going to be in the Olympics. He doesn't like to brag or say that he created snowboarding, but in some way, he pioneered the sport. So he thought that he should be given the respect for them to at least have him in on it. Ask him what he thinks some of the tricks and terrain should be, but nobody said a word to him. Jake's valuable insight and consumer persona. Some valuable insight that he had was just continue working hard. He had so much failure in his career, And when he leaned on the people that he trusted and his family and continued to put his head down and worked hard, he ended up coming out victorious. Consumer persona. Snowboarders are out-of-the-box thinkers, I like to think. They're people that are free spirits. They're people that don't always conform to society. They're people that would rather be on like a little different than everybody else, if that makes sense. People that are also other board, people that use their feet in a lot of things like snowboarders and skaters and surfers would normally turn to snowboards instead of skiers. Thank you for listening, and this is Jake Burton Carpenter.